how did you kind of figure out that journey, and what is it you do now?
Yeah, so I wouldn't ever recommend sending out an email with just like loads of information on it, because I think there's, especially like, look, here we are in 2024, people want a more personalized approach than ever before. And of course, with the help of AI and technology, we can create personalized experiences for people without having to personalize every single experience. So like, there really is no excuse to not be giving people the personalization that they crave. For me, back in the theatre school, and when I work with my clients, right, this is what I would say. So you know exactly what you do. So let's imagine you're a dog trainer. And also, I should have told you this prior to you booking me. I know nothing about dogs. One of my clients is actually in the dog world, and she always laughs at me because I always give the like imaginary dogs really human names. She's like, nobody would call their dog that, Charlie. Anyway, I'll do an example of a dog trainer, but if I get anything wrong, you'd be like, yeah, no, that's not. So we know I'm a dog trainer. I'm trying to get in front of an audience of dog owners because that is who I'm going to sell to. I'm a dog trainer as well. So I want that audience to be people who need to train their dogs. It's people who, you know, aren't really confident. Then it's not going to be other trainers, for example. So getting really clear on who that specific person is that you want to get in front of, and then thinking, okay, well, where do they hang out? Where can I find them? Is it, you know, at the local vets? Is it my dog walkers? Is it the kennels that they can go to? Where can I find big groups of people that are my ideal client who I know are going to need to train their dogs? And how can I get then into conversations with people who are that ideal client? And so back in the day when I ran my theatre school, it was schools. That's who I was wanting to get in front of. I was wanting to get in front of schools to do workshops and assemblies in front of the children, to get the children on side and then send them home with a letter so that they would book, basically. Now, schools are the most terrifying people to sell to, because they're not checking any emails. And if you go in and try and talk to anybody, you're getting a gatekeeper. And so what I started to do, 21-year-old Charlie, no experience in sales whatsoever, is I picked up the phone and I called and I asked to speak to the head of department or the head teacher or the deputy head or whoever. And it was really, really scary. And it was massively out of my comfort zone. And I used to draw 10 circles on a piece of paper and I used to cross them off every time. I would get a no. A no was a cross. And if I got all the way through my chart, then I could have my coffee. I'm obsessed with coffee. So the morning coffee was only, and I used to call it going for the no, because most people would say no. And so like, that was I'm like, okay, I've got some drama. No, not interested. Okay, brilliant. Hi, no, not interested. Okay. And then eventually you'd get one person be like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that sounds really good actually. And you're like,
taken aback.
But because I did that like mindset shift of I was going for the no, it wasn't like, oh my God, somebody said no, because ultimately people will say no. In my business now, most of my sales are done through direct messages. So on Instagram, on Facebook, in the emails, and I am reaching out, I'm having conversations with people all of the time on a very basic level. Conversations equal sales. So the more conversations you have, the more sales you'll make. But I get ghosted. I get people messaging me saying, I'm not interested. But I also get people saying, tell me more. Can we hop on a call? I want to buy. So you've got to have a certain amount of no's. But I think most people are so scared of rejection that they just avoid sales completely. And I find it particularly with female business owners. They're very reluctant to sell, to the point where they actually don't sell. And so one question I'd love to throw out there for your audience is, are you actually even selling? Or are you just telling people what's available? Because there's a difference.
Yeah, and something we hear a lot is, well, how do you have time to have conversations with people? This is something that comes up, isn't it? So like an online booking process just takes all of that away. for them, and they just go, well, you just do it. You sort it out yourself. Like, we can just sit here and concentrate in the business.
Yeah, like doing the delivery. So I'm either out and I'm walking the dogs, or I'm training the dogs, or I'm grooming the dogs.
Haven't got time for that booking thing. Like, that's what they'll say.
And brilliant, like, great. If that is you, if you can put a booking link out there and you get fully booked, well, great. You don't need to watch this, really, do you?
Tell me how you do that.
Yeah. If they come streaming in, great. Which they invariably they don't.
Part, you know, we're not just putting a link out there and people are just automatically booking in. If you think about yourself as a consumer, would you do that to your dog? Would you just book your dog in for a groom that you'd never spoken to the person who runs that place, or for a dog walk with somebody you had no connection with? You probably wouldn't, because I'm imagining, and again, it is an imagine, that people's dogs are like their pride and joy, and that they don't want to just palm them off with whoever. And so it's, how do you build that relationship up? How do you get people to know, like, and trust you so that they want to bring their dog? Because there's loads of different trainers that they can use. Why are they going to use you? Well, they're going to use you because you are the person who's going to sell it the best. Because we know that other dog trainers aren't doing the things to sell it. They're just putting their booking link out there. But if you decide that I'm going to be the person who sells it, uses persuasive language, builds know, like, and trust up on my social media, follows up with people, tells people why they should buy right now, gives them compelling time-bound reasons to sign up. If you do all of that stuff, knowing that the rest of the people in the industry don't do that stuff, you're going to separate yourself out from the crowd. And what happens when you separate yourself out from the crowd, this is where the magic happens, is that you become in the top 2% of salespeople, which pushes you up to the top percentage in your industry, so that actually you don't have any competition anymore, because you're getting booked out and people know about you, people are recommending you. The sales do then start flooding in because you are doing things that other people aren't prepared to make those sales. And that's what I'm passionate about. I spend an hour every single day, 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. every single day, doing personal outreach and follow-up. I do not know a single other person in my industry who does that. Started in May 2022. I did it for a month for a challenge, had the best month ever, made a ridiculous amount of sales, and then I basically couldn't stop, and I've never stopped since. And again, that's something that I do that separates myself out from the crowd. And people say to me, how have you grown so quickly? And like, I'm on target to turn over £1 million this year. I've only been open for like 3.5 years. That's a crazy amount of growth. And people say to me all the time, how have you had that growth? And singly put it down to the fact that I am prepared to do things that other people won't, to get the results that other people don't.
Yeah.
So what would you say to people that might say, sales is sleazy, why should I be pushing people into working with me? How would you answer those questions?
I would say it's not, and it doesn't need to be. I think there are people out there who are doing sales in a sleazy way, but I hate that. I'm not sleazy or pushy or anything. In fact, quite the opposite. I am like, if you don't want to work with me, that's absolutely fine. I don't want to work with anyone who doesn't want to work with me. Often, like, I'm selling my mastermind at the moment, and I do calls to see if they're the right person for me to invite in, you know, and I imagine it's the same if you're training dogs. I don't want to train some dodgy dog.
Dodgy dog. I love it. It's not the dog, it's the human.
It's the human. Yeah.
The human.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to have somebody who is annoying in my class. I want to make sure that actually I'm getting the right people, and the way that I'm going to do that is by putting out my vibe and my energy. Sales is an exchange of energy. So if you're putting yourself out there on social media, I suppose if they're dog trainers, they can do it in their local community. It doesn't need to just be an online thing. If you're putting yourself out there, then you're going to draw in the right people who want to work with you. But when I'm talking about personal outreach, it's funny because I get this all the time. People are like, oh, I would never possibly send a message. I get those messages and I hate them. And I'm like, what messages do you get? Oh, people telling me that I can fill your appointments. And I'm like, well, don't send messages that you don't like receiving, obviously. Yeah. But The perfect example, I was saying to some of my clients on Monday, how many messages have you got from people saying, Happy New Year, hope you had a wonderful Christmas? Like from your clients, from people you work with, just from members of your community. And everybody agreed that they hadn't got any messages like that. Meanwhile, I have been sending messages out like that every single day. And so many people come back with me, oh my gosh, Charlie, it's always you. You're so thoughtful. You always think of me. Is there any way I could get on a call with you? Because I definitely want to work with you in 2024. Because I'm having these conversations all the time, that sort of stuff happens to me all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I have also been ghosted. I've also had people message me back, Happy New Year. Nothing else. Not everything has led to a sales conversation, but what has definitely happened where I've sent out over 100 messages to people now, that person who's received that message has had my name in their head because they have received that message. And if we take it back to the simplest form, that conversations equal sales, I know I'm going to make some sales through sending out those messages. They don't need to be pushy or sleazy. In fact, they shouldn't be.